Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode. Don't be like EA, be a decent human being, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. What's for dessert? We make a souffle and then EA stomps on by and ruins it. All right, today we're going to talk about EA, Electronic Arts. Developer, publisher, bastards. Before I pass it on to my fellow host here, I wrote a poem to EA. This is love and dedication. EA, you suck. Thank you. Now, let's start off by passing it over to Patrick because he's got a grin.
I was expecting more.
EA does not get more. EA only
gets
deserves
2 words.
The suck.
They got 2 words. Yeah, EA the suck.
Now, if they would like to give me a loot box, I'll give them more.
You give them another word. 1 word per loot box, right? But what game? They're going to give you a loot box in one of their worst games that you don't even play. What can we say about EA? They're a very large company. They're a billionaire company, you know. They got that way by crushing the hopes and dreams of children everywhere. EA has, as you've probably, anybody who's listened this long enough probably knows that we're not big EA fans. They have a tendency of buying up our favorite franchises and then either sitting on them or crapping on them. You know, one of the two, or both. You know, they'll sit on it for years and then they put something out finally and you guys like, yes, I'm going to get a game that I really want. And then it's a big hot pile of steaming dino do, or they flatten the souffle, as we've said. So, you know, there's not going to be a whole lot of there's not too many fans amongst this group of EA, because, I mean, they've taken my favorite developer and they've wrung them out. BioWare is my favorite developer and they've wrung them out. So, you know, that's kind of where I'll lead into this one is I'm not a huge fan. I mean, EA has had their time in history, and I think their time is over, but they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They're not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Nick, what about you, man? What do you got to say about EA?
Not anything good. Yeah, you know, I loved your poem, Jane. It was really good.
Thank you.
That's all they deserve. Yeah,
Yes.
you know, just like Patrick said, you know, I love BioWare as well. From an old school perspective, they took one of my most favorite publishers and just got rid of them, basically, which was Westwood Studios, who made, you know, Command and Conquer and all the great strategy games of the day back then. And they bought Westwood, and do you know Westwood's not around anymore? You know, so they pretty much just took the Command and Conquer from them and basically just got rid of Westwood, and then they EA decided, let's make Command and Conquer 4, which was horrible, and then they decided, let's not do anything with Command and Conquer, and then they decided, hey, we're going to make a Command and Conquer game for your phone. Awesome. And then supposedly there's talks that we are going to get a new Command and Conquer, but, you know, I heard about it whisper in the wind a long time ago, but I haven't heard anything since, so who knows. So, yeah, just like Pat said, they take all these great developers and they purchase them, and they purchase their franchises, and they just, I mean, 9 times out of 10, they sit on them. Or when they do have good ideas, they just, you know, decide to crap all over them. And then, you know, you either come out with a game that's half done, or just spread out with loot boxes everywhere, or just, you know, half measures, basically. They just take half measures, you know, they really just want to get that product out the door and sold because they know that a Mass Effect will sell, or a Command and Conquer, in my terms, will sell. And, you know, or what was that, Dead Space, you know? I mean, look what they did with Dead Space. And Dead Space was awesome, you know, and that team's, luckily, the original creators of that's kind of, you know, they went off and started their own development studios, and now they're making that new something Protocol, that one that they showed off last year or the year before last. They just showed like a 3D trailer of it. But that one looks really good. It's like Callisto Protocol or something like that. I don't know. We'd have to look it up, but that looks really good. So and that's really the best bet for these people is to branch off from EA. But yeah, anything that EA touches just gets destroyed, and it sucks because they own a lot of our most favorite franchises and games, SimCity and all that. They own all those. Maxis. Remember what happened to Maxis? I don't know. Is it around anymore? I don't think so. Maybe in name, maybe, I don't know, but SimCity, since the last SimCity, and that was a big controversy when it came out because of all the changes that they made to the SimCity and how it played. I still played it because I love SimCity, but yeah, I could tell that why people were upset with that. And then, have we seen a new SimCity since then? No. EA's is sitting on that franchise. So yeah, there's a lot of franchises they just take and do nothing with. But I'm sure we'll get deeper and deeper into EA here in a minute. But Russ, what do you think about EA?
I'm kind of glad you mentioned SimCity. I mean, I think SimCity actually on release, you had to have an internet connection to play it, and it was just you couldn't get on the game. I think me and Patrick spent a whole night trying to get on that game, and we couldn't even get on due to internet connection. It was like, why do I need an internet connection to play this game? It makes no sense. So that's one of them. Of course, the guys were kind enough again to leave a franchise for me, Star Wars. What is there really to say about it? I mean, they have literally put out 2 Battlefront games, and that's pretty much it. I mean, those other things, the Squadrons was okay. Jedi Order is pretty good, or I should say, not Jedi Order, but Fallen Jedi is pretty good.
Fallen Order.
Yeah, Fallen Order. I'm sorry, I'm actually behind on that game, and I think that maybe subconsciously, because it is an EA game, I think subconsciously is the reason why I'm not playing it. Maybe that might be part of it, because I can't get into it for some reason. I'm actually struggling. I don't know how I can't, but I can't do it. Can't wait for Ubisoft's rendition. I'm praying and hoping. I mean, I don't care. Reskin AC. I don't care. Just do it. But I mean, I think I would play that before anything. Anthem, what a terrible disappointment there. That was I think that was BioWare. Isn't that BioWare's last game? It seems it's been released. I'm not really 100% sure, but I don't think another game from BioWare at least has come out since then. That stuff there, and just to kind of help Shane a little bit, EA cannot be allowed to stay. Why are they even in the fray? For they take what we love and they give it a shove. So we wait for the day that they get a brain. So I'll leave it open to the rest of everybody, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so
Nice,
your poem
he
was
beat you,
beautiful.
Shane.
Your poem was beautiful, but where you were going with shove, I was a little worried. But no,
there was an alternate ending to that, but I was like, I don't want to wish
PG-ish.
death upon people, so I should maybe not do that.
I mean, right now, yeah, you guys are bringing up all that they seem to do is they buy up a studio that's well developed, like Westwood and Maxis and what was the Pandemic. It's funny when if you're a big enough company like EA. Anytime you Google EA, like some of your first hits that come about EA is EA has killed, EA has destroyed, EA has liquidated. I mean, that's all you ever see about EA anymore. Everybody's favorite developers get liquidated and shut down. I mean, Mythic. I love Dark Ages of Camelot, and they made a couple of games that were subpar after the acquisition from EA, and EA's like, nah, we're done with it. You put out a couple of bad games, even though you got a track record of many great games. And high value, we're just going to shut you down. We're going to liquidate your studio. I don't know I mean, I do know what to think about that. I hate it because, yeah, like Nick, I liked Westwood Studios. I liked one of their last games they put out, Earth and Beyond. I loved that game. But EA said it was a subpar release and killed off the studio because of that. And it was kind of a not so well received Command and Conquer game they put out. So,
yeah. And
EA,
sorry, but everything you're saying about, okay, so this company's games came out, the next company game came out, It's not the developer. It's not the game. It's not the series or whatever. It is freaking EA. They put their fingers in something, they twist the wound, and then they dump crap out. And they force the developers, they force these games to come out way before they're done baking. It's all about what they can get extra out of it. And that just, God, it infuriates me.
Well, that's because EA treats everything like a business instead of
Yes.
treating game developers like creative arts.
Mhm.
The government in this country has a problem with that. They want to take away funding for creative arts. And so EA says, how can we monetize creative arts? Well, BioWare, all these other studios and everything. We bought you. We know that you were breaking in millions and millions of dollars, but we're going to cut your budget in half. And I want you to put out the same quality of content you were doing with twice the budget, because we need to make that money back that we bought you for. And instead of letting them do what they do best by just acquiring them and sitting on them and letting the studio do their job, EA says, we're going to come in, we're going to clean house. I need you to cut costs here. They basically treat them like a giant corporation. And that ends up bleeding the studios dry. They can't work with that. They can't work within the confines of the restrictions they've given them. So what do? You take a studio like BioWare, and what do you get? You get Mass Effect Andromeda. You get Anthem. And then what else are they putting out? Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Yeah.
Dang remake. Whatever, it's a remake. And I just, they destroy things that people love. That's all they do. I mean, I liked Anthem. I liked Anthem as much. I liked Anthem probably the most out of the entire group, but I mean, most of us liked it except for Nick. But I was super, super, super pumped up for the remake of Anthem, for the re-release of Anthem. And then EA's like, whatever, get out of here. We're not going to redo it. After spending time and money and years on it, fixing it, they just decided to flush it down the toilet and leave it as it is, which is a mark against now BioWare because of them.
Yeah, and that's horse crap. Anthem had all the makings of a franchise, of something we could all truly enjoy, and then they pissed it away because they pushed it out. They forced unnecessary crap, and it's just wrong. In 2012 and 2013, EA was named the worst company in the U.S. by the Consumerist magazine. And then in 2018, they were the worst company, the fifth worst company, USA Today. Al Qaeda got a better rep than them. So this is bullcrap. When you have games like Star Wars, sorry, Russ, let me finish my rant here. When you have games like Star Wars, Fallen Order, with that quality and everything, that was Respawn, right? Now, why does it feel like Respawn is the only developer that EA owns that's keeping up the quality? That's one thing I couldn't figure out, because they were like the only one I could think of that has remained pretty fantastic with what they brought out.
They probably got dirty photos of the higher ups.
I know what that EA really stands for. Eating.
The thing is like with Anthem's a good example. Anthem was made after a particular other game that had a business model that was actually working. The game Destiny. Destiny was working. Was it the best of all? No, but the business model was working so much that they made a Destiny 2. Anthem had the business model. I mean, they had the classes. I mean, let's be honest. If you just took the classes by themselves and put them in a different game, I would be all over it. I mean, I don't know if y'all remember the first couple of nights. I'm like screaming on the mic because we're just like going crazy. And it's just like I was like playing the tank. I can't remember the class, but I was playing the tank. It was like a Devastator or something. And I was just like, I mean, I was playing like, the Valkyrie song in the background. I was just like, I was loving it. It was like Apocalypse Now on that stuff. But then it was like, and then they ruin it, and they have a perfect business model. So that's my first example of utter confusion when it comes to this company. And then my second point, which I kind of forgot because I got on the Anthem kick, but I'll get there around to it here in just a minute. was so EA, basically we know how EA got popular. EA got popular through sports games in the mid to late 90s. They had these wonderful sports games that were getting more realistic. And then what they do is they start to build more complex sports games, which is fine. I mean, don't get me wrong. I played Madden up to about 2009. I think that's the last Madden I truly played. And I was like, you know what? I want to try a new Madden. And so I get the new Madden and I'm like, every single thing is micromanaged. It's almost a microcosm of what EA is. Every play, everything, which is cool. I like that. But at the same time, if I wanted to progress a character, I actually had to pay money. If I wanted, like back in the day, I could make my own guy. I could make Russell Rowe quarterback, 6'6", 230, 99 all the way across, put him in the game and he's ready to go. Well, now you got to progress a character. I mean, like they added so much to it that it's like, I know that probably adds hour of gameplay to somebody who really loves it. But for somebody like me, turn me off to the whole sporting franchise. The only successful game, in my opinion, probably that they have is probably FIFA. FIFA is probably really the only sports game that's really actually successful. And that's just because I'm looking at worldwide sales. I haven't played the increments of that. I would love to find some Italian dude who loves freaking gaming and has played every FIFA since the end of this world and say, what do you think of the incarnations of each one? And see what they say. And I bet that they will say some of the same things that we're saying about EA now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Nick, when you were talking about, was it Westworld Studios or whoever that was? What happened? I mean, what happened with their last game with EA? I'm not sure what it was. Because I don't know Westworld.
Yeah, it's Command and Conquer and Earth and Beyond.
Earth and Beyond, that was what I was trying to think of. Because I know what Command and Conquer is. I never played Earth and Beyond. What is it that they did that butchered it for you?
It was an MMORPG. It was a good game. I played it. Played it until they shut it down.
Oh, so they didn't butcher it, they just shut it off.
Yeah, it was only out for it wasn't out for, well, I mean, was it was it 2 years that it was out for before they shut it down, or was it less than that?
Yeah, it released in September 2002 and shut down in September 2004, so it was only up for 2 years.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And I never got to play it, but at that time I wasn't big into MMOs, but that was actually one I was going to play mainly because it was Westwood, and I loved Westwood back in the day. But by the time I got around to doing it, I read that they were going to shut it down and shut down the servers, and Westwood was basically being dissolved and stuff like that. I mean, so that's Westwood. For that game, it was probably just EA just didn't see the player count or whatever. The thing about Earth and Beyond, though, for me is, I don't know. I don't think EA did very good marketing for that game. It was just kind of like a game that you really didn't hear about. It was, unless you were in the know and you knew. They didn't really push it out there for people to experience. I think if they would, and especially having a developer like Westwood behind it, I think you'd probably get more of those people to be like, hey, I'll check that out. But, back then I don't remember seeing much for Earth and Beyond other than, if you were like us and kind of scour the, gaming sites or game magazines or whatever.
The only reason I ever heard about it is because I was subscribed to Game Informer, and Game Informer did like a spread on it. And I was like, what is this? A space game? So I had to check it out. And in all honesty, everybody except GameSpot gave it like massive props. I mean, it was like rank 80 and higher to everybody except GameSpot. I mean, it was the runner-up to the best MMO game of the year in 2002. GameSpot gave it the second most disappointing runner-up game of the year. And I'm like, GameSpot, there's a reason why they're not big players anymore, because they're kind of, they don't know what they're doing, So everybody else gave them really favorable reviews, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think probably I don't know what EA did, but I would imagine that they didn't give the studio enough time to prep for succession planning for the game. Like, what are we going to do? We're going to do expansions. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. Or maybe it was that the studio never built in a way for EA to do microtransactions. So EA's like, how do I make money on this, So because that's what we all know. EA loves to do surprise mechanics.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was going to bring up as well. Is that's another thing that's killing the games we love is what you said, the little surprises, the loot boxes, and if you want this, you can buy this. Pay to play BS that they did. I mean, all the flack that they got for Battlefront, the first one, they came out and said for 2, well, we're not going to do all this, and they ended up doing the same damn thing. EA, they always try to find a way to milk that few extra dollars, and they don't freaking need it because they have games in quality. If they would just leave it be and let the developers do their thing, then they wouldn't need to do all that milking. Because if they have a developer like Respawn who can drop Titanfall 2, I mean, that game sold like hotcakes, and they're fantastic. Jedi Fallen Order sold like hotcakes and fantastic. If they let the developers go, they don't need to throw in all the loot boxes. It's just a greedy cash grab. And that's just another reason people just cannot stomach them. But the problem is they have games that we want to play. And that's what really sucks.
Well, yes, that's the problem.
What's so mind-blowing about those games, too, is that I don't give a hold on a second. Hold on. I'm about to start cursing. I don't give a crap about playing as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't care about playing as Darth Vader. I don't care. I want to play as my own character, as my own person in the Star Wars universe. That's the greatest thing about what the Star Wars about MMOs previous. It's and I mean we could talk about what happened to Knights of the Old Republic 2. EA that game there. You want to talk about a micro? I mean, you have a microtransaction to do a microtransaction in that game. Like everything is micro. I mean, like if you need to log into the game, you need to pay at least 75 cents. Once you log into the game, then you're going to have to pay another $1. If you want another character, you need to pay another $45. I mean, it's absurd. And, when that game was originally built, this was like whatever, I don't know if it was Nick or Patrick that said that maybe they didn't have a succession plan for Earth and Beyond. Well, as soon as they figured out what was going to happen to Star Wars: The Old Republic, they were like, we need to make it free to play. And that's what they need to do. And I will not go back to that game no matter how badly I need to hear lightsabers. I mean, I won't do it. And of course now it's a dated game, but anyway, I'll stop on my rant right now.
Well, I think we're all kind of happy that EA has lost exclusivity rights to Star Wars games now and can't wait for some better games. Yeah, it was, as much as we talk about, as much as Shane's favorite phrase is someone with mouse ears cornholing everybody, we're kind of glad that they cornholed EA this time and said, you're going to lose your exclusivity rights. So we're all thankful for that. And I'm quite happy about that because I am with Russ on this. I don't always want to play the Jedi. I mean, when we played the MMO that they came out with, I played the Bounty Hunter, I played the Commando. I played those way more than I played the Consular or the Sith, I can't remember what the Lightning class in that one is, but I played those way more than I played that one.
I did, in defense, I did start a Sith Jedi, or a Sith. I don't mean Sith Jedi. Fans, I apologize. I really apologize for saying that. I started a Sith character. I had to have a Darth Manticore. I had to have it, so that's why I did that. I mean, but I was a tank. It was awesome. It was fantastic. But when I'm saying these MOBAs, I don't know what you want to call them, these games that are like that come out, these battle games, they you get your basic characters. You get, for a Star Trek reference, you get a bunch of red shirt guys. And then you have to pay for somebody that's pretty good. And that's just, anyway, I'm going to stop for a minute so I don't get too frustrated.
Nick, what would be one game you would rip from EA's dirty, nasty, bloody hands and give it to a real company?
That's an easy one. Command and Conquer. I would give it to a company that, you know, really good strategy company, you know, not saying like Blizzard either, because there's problems on that side. I'm talking like, you know, maybe the developers who are now doing the Age of Empires. I think it's Ensemble Studios, I believe, is doing that. They did, you know, they have some strategy games in their back pocket. They've done really good. Or maybe some of those, you know, maybe some of those developers that make those 4K, like Stellaris and stuff like that. I know Command & Conquer is not a 4K game, but I'm sure they could do a really cool, you know, Command & Conquer game, or any of those that has those strategy stuff, you know, not one that's owned by a corporation like EA, or even in Blizzard's case, Activision, you know, one that's just their own developer, that can really take that franchise and make it really cool. Because I think any one that doesn't have, you know, any developer out there that doesn't have, you know, Big Daddy standing over them can come out with a really awesome game, no matter what it is. And for me, Command & Conquer would be awesome to see a developer that doesn't have those strains of EA just watching over their shoulder and being able to develop something they really like. And I think that would bring that franchise back, because that franchise, you know, Blizzard kind of did it with StarCraft 2, right? And they haven't done it since then, but, you know, with StarCraft 2 was really good, and it's a really good strategy game. So, you know, and Age of Empires is coming back, you know, and they're making Age of Empires 4, which people are really excited about. So I would like to see more strategy games come back, and I would love to see one of my beloved franchises, Command & Conquer, come back in full force and make an awesome strategy game. But I will say, this will be a true testament to EA and their influence. You know, Patrick had alluded to before about Mass Effect Remake coming out. If this will be a true testament about EA's, you know, finger on the pulse as far as, or pushing it down, is if that remake is worse than the original, right? The original's not bad, but if it comes out and they're like, what happened? Then you'll know what happened. You know, exactly what we're talking about here. They've already taken they have added some new things and changed some things around, but they've already taken some stuff out of Mass Effect, this remake. So, you know, I'm hoping it's a good game, but that could be a true testament to EA's, you know, influence.
How bad EA can screw up a beloved anything. If you're remaking something that's already have a beloved following, and all you're doing is remaking and remastering, how bad can they mess it up? And the answer to that is they can royally screw it up. And I really hope not. But like I said, I don't have high hopes, because my favorite studio of all time has gotten swallowed up by them, and they've progressively gotten worse over the years and worse over the years. So, you know, my top 5 games, I think 4 of them are BioWare games. You know, it's my favorite studio because of the way they tell stories and the way that they present games. But EA just craps all over them. And I don't know. EA unfortunately did very well this year because of the pandemic. I don't know if you guys read all the money, but I think they increased like $1.2 billion in revenue due to COVID, because what's everybody do when COVID comes around? You stay home and play more video games. So they had just this huge uproaring of support for people buying games, because people wanted to buy games they played. And then not to mention, you know, they're partnering with Microsoft for EA Play coming to Xbox, which probably helped their stock quite a bit, because Game Pass is just shooting up on the popularity and everybody's playing it. So I don't see them going away anytime soon, but I don't know. I hate that they just are this giant company that swallows up developers, and because next thing you know, they're going to start their own. I'm pretty sure they probably already have. I just don't pay too much attention to their indie side. I wonder if they have an indie side of their studio that just goes in and buys up all these little indie studios. They're like, oh, that Phasmophobia game's doing really well. Let's go buy that guy's studio for $10 million or $20 million and take over his game and turn it into EA crapware, Phasmophobia. There's loot boxes in here. If you sneak up, if you sneak up on the ghost and Phasmophobia now, you might get a surprise mechanic.
You know,
Scared the shit out of me. Got a loot box.
I've got a hypothesis about that. I wonder if this. So I bet if we looked at the lifespan of EA from when they were first making games to now, I bet you that time where they started to ruin games, I bet you the leadership changed. I bet it went from a creative-minded leadership to a money-minded leadership team. and that's what's leading that team now. Until they get proper artistic people back into that leadership team, I don't think that it's going to change. I truly don't.
Right. Well, EA's always been broken up into eras based off of their leadership team. I mean, they had the Trip Hopkins era, the Larry Probst era, I can't remember his first name, Risatello, and then currently now they got the Andrew Wilson / Disney partnership era. So,
yeah. Code name
in this
Cornhole.
era, yeah, they cornhole. They've also had they also are like in financial trouble in this era, which is 2013 to present. But they were a really excellent company in the 80s and 90s, and now they've just kind of gone to that, back in the late 2000s, they just started sucking everybody up and sucking up all these studios and killing them off and shutting things down that put out one or two bad games. It's like, you can't put out a bad game on EA's watch. If we buy you and we squeeze you and you put out a crappy game, we're just going to shut you down.
Yeah, and that just sucks. And what's really bad is EA last December bought Codemasters. They make all the racing games. I believe Dirt is Codemasters and a few of the others, and everybody was in tears because it was basically down to Microsoft and EA. And EA, they dumped the cash bucket on $1.2 billion. That's a lot of damn money for a company that's known for primarily their racing games. And I think, and I've said this before to you guys, just off the air, is I think EA buys games and companies not to make the games in the companies, but to limit competition, to weaken the competition. If it was down to between Microsoft and EA to buy Codemasters is a quality company, but I don't think their games sell as well as so many other companies that make games. But they paid for it, and I think they did it just to keep Microsoft from having it. It's just one less deal that they got to deal with. It's something they don't have to deal with. Need for Speed. That's a competitor they don't have now.
Well, Codemasters is $1 billion company, so they obviously make good enough games for that. So
yes, but they're not Konami or
BioWare.
Yeah.
But they are also valued at more than Respawn is. So it's but I agree with you there, Shane. I think it is a thing like that, and they've been accused of bad business practices, antitrust practices, because of the way that they buy up studios. They bought up 44 different companies in there since their inception. Codemasters brings them up to 44 this year. This year. They bought them in February. Who knows? They don't always buy game developers and stuff. They bought Gamefly, but that thing was, I can't believe they bought that. It was going downhill when they bought it. So
that was like buying Blockbuster or freaking Hollywood Video.
They bought Blockbuster when there was only 6 stores left for $1 billion.
But no, it is definitely heartbreaking to see what a company who owns so much quality has just they've done to the business. We've said time after time about how like Sony, the way they screw over their customers sometimes, and Microsoft has done it as well. But nobody has grabbed more shoulders and drove it home like EA. And it sucks because you guys have so many games you love with them. And honestly, I would love to boycott half their crap, but I like Battlefield. I like Star Wars, but luckily Star Wars is, it's a lot more open now. But, I love BioShocks, or not BioShock, excuse me. But they have, those games that we love, and we can't just simply, all right, I'm not buying them no more. Not until, EA, does something, like pulls their head out of their butt and their hand. EA's going to pull
a Sony and think everybody just is fooled by the name change. We're going to go, Sony went from SOE to SIE. They're like, nobody, they won't know who we are. That's going to be EA.
Then they made it like,
we're going to be
foolish people.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're going to change their name.
They also bought, the Burnout developer, and, where's the Burnout been? We had
Criterion,
that one Burnout.
Right?
Yeah. We had that one Burnout Paradise. They remade that. And we haven't had a Burnout since. And Burnout Paradise is not as fun as the original Burnouts. The whole I mean, I remember me and Shane sitting there for hours playing just and back in the day with me and my buddies as well, my other buddies, playing just the traffic mode, where you just run your car into the traffic and see how big of a crash you can do. I mean, that was the funnest part about that game. Burnout Paradise didn't have that, but, that was around the time that they went to, I mean, that one is an EA published game, so that's around the time they went there. Now, did that developer have the idea of making an open world kind of Burnout game? Probably. That was kind of the open world time, when those types of games were coming out. So they probably did have something like that in the pipeline. But, what have they done with that developer since then, as far as when EA's had it? Paradise was probably already in development when they bought them. And so they released that, and then they remade it, and, that's about as far as it's gone. We don't have a new Burnout a game or just a new game by that developer. I can't think of the last thing they made.
Right.
So,
I mean, EA seems to, just like you said, when they buy out a studio or developer, all they do is they pump out remakes, remasters, or sequels or prequels to those franchises. They don't ever let those developers go off on and create some new IP. Usually they're like, hey, just stick with what you know, keep creating this, even though the studio may have a great idea for a game. EA's like, no, continue to make X, Y, and Z because you've done that and it's a proven track record. Don't go outside of your lane. EA is that company, so stay in your lane, and
Yeah.
and I mean, and if a developer makes one wrong move, when they do that, they shut them down. Like Nick had mentioned, Westwood, they're like, it's a Command and Conquer, and then we're going to let you have the reins of Earth and Beyond and make this game. And Earth and Beyond's lasted 2 years, had a good player base, and it did pretty well from what I understand. They shut them down because it was a mediocre EA release, a EA published game. And the same thing with BioWare. They gave BioWare Anthem, and Anthem didn't do as well as they had hoped. And I fully laid it on the shoulders of EA. I laid Anthem's fault on the shoulders of EA, not BioWare. And then BioWare's like, let us make it right. We have the plans and to make it right. But EA said yes, and then for whatever reason, EA then said, you know what? No, we're going to pull the plug on you. We let you put out a new Mass Effect Andromeda that was really garbage, also on the shoulders of EA. And we want you to start working on Mass Effect, the remastering of the entire Mass Effect franchise. And then we're going to tease and rumor the players, letting them think we're going to put out a new Mass Effect game, because there's proposed new Mass Effect and a new Dragon Age game, but those are so far pushed outside of the realm that we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. What I worry about is we all played and reviewed It Takes Two, and we all love that game. That was produced by EA. And I worry that game is so fantastic. I worry that EA is going to, buy up those rights. They're not just going to produce it. They're going to buy this dude who made it, and they're going to ruin it. And I love that they gave this guy a shot for a way out, and then It Takes Two, and I can't wait to see what this this guy and his company does. But partnering in any way with EA scares the crap out of me for quality games like this. And if they get too much power on those games that we love, especially these newer ones, we're just going to see It Takes Two too. I mean, that's just what they do with these things.
Well, I tell you what, we've been talking about a lot of games and stuff like that. Another game we could throw on to the stack of games, Fight Night. That's a game we heard like one. But I think we have forgotten to mention one of a series that started off unbelievably. I bought 5.1 surround sound speakers for this game. Medal of Honor. It was
I thought you were going to say Barbie horse breed.
No, whatever. Don't try to ruin this point, because this is huge. Medal of Honor was an amazing game. It was a unbelievable game for its time. I think Steven Spielberg, with his DreamWorks Interactive, is what made it. I probably played the opening cutscene of that game 5,000 times, at least, minimum. And what is Medal of Honor now? I mean, I think the last one we played was like a Vietnam one or something like that. I can't remember, but it was horrible. It was garbage compared to what that first one was. So I don't know if it came out at the right time or whatever, but EA has completely destroyed that game.
Yeah, the last one that
Is
I
it
know of that came out with was the VR one. They
That's what
came
I'm
out with that
saying.
VR Medal of Honor, and before that was just a game called Medal of Honor, and it didn't have like a, because most of them, I mean, besides the first one, most of them had like a sub name to them. You know, my favorite Medal of Honor was Allied Assault. I love that game so much.
Fantastic.
It was a fantastic game, and yeah, I had it back on the PC back in the day, and I played that game so many times because just that first, like you were saying, Russ, and that maybe the Medal of Honor you were talking about. I don't know if you were talking about the first one or maybe Allied Assault, but that first, that first level as you storm in the beach in Normandy, and that was an awesome scene. That was like the first game that I remember that now every game has that part, but that was the first one. And it was almost like a Saving Private Ryan moment in that, in that scene in that movie, is how they kind of portrayed it in the game, in Medal of Honor Allied Assault. It was very similar to what you saw in the movie, but these two things are not connected as far as the game doesn't go with the movie and vice versa, but the actions that happen that day. But yeah, that game is an awesome game, and you're right. I mean, what have they done with Medal of Honor since the last one that I remember, which was just called Medal of Honor? I think it came out on the 360, I want to say, or maybe it was Xbox One, PS4, I can't remember. Was it 360?
That one and Warfighter were the last two. Yeah, they were 360 in Windows.
Yeah, I was
and
going to
then
say Warfighter was the
Beyond.
last true console game.
To put it in
PC game,
perspective,
then the VR game.
that scene there, that beginning scene, is literally what I used to upgrade my computer. At that point in time, I had a little bit of an older computer, and I played that game, and it would, like, the cutscene would kind of cut a little bit. So I went and I ordered a new graphics card. I bought a new memory, and I upgraded it so that I could have that first opening scene be smooth. And I got a brand new sound card and 5.1 surround. I mean, like that game, I you know what? I want to go back to the favorite games of all times that we've had, and I want to put that in my top 5 because that game was so phenomenal.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Russ. I mean, that is a quality game, great stories. And I was just looking at this list of developers of Medal of Honor series. So the first one, Russ, you were correct. It was DreamWorks Interactive. And then they did so they did Medal of Honor. Then they did the Underground. And then it looked like they went, whoever 2015 Inc. is, never heard of them. I don't know if that's just a mistype or what, or they don't own it. Then EA Los Angeles did several expansions and whatnot. And then it went to Danger Close, who made the remake Medal of Honor back in 2010. And then they did the 2012 Warfighter. And both of those were really good. They were modernized. But Respawn is who made the VR version. And that's kind of odd because, where's Danger Close now? Where's the other, people that have touched this thing? Because there's a few other people in here. Team Fusion, Netherknock. Never heard of any of them. So where are these developers now? Where are these game makers now? EA just took a dump and left them alone?
Well, I'm sure they probably either left or got fused in with the bigger development teams. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, EA publishes a lot of games. I mean, they publish a lot, and they should stay a publisher, in my opinion. They've got the money, publish the games for the developers, but they keep their fingers out of the development studios. But they don't want to do that. They want both pieces of that pie. They want to take the developer piece and the publisher piece, and they just want to, instead of it getting half and half or whatever their pieces are, EA is like, this whole pie is mine. They just take the pie off the windowsill and run away with it and eat it all.
But if you're lucky, you can lick the spoon.
They don't even do that. They throw the spoon in the trash just so you can't have any of it.
That's no crap.
So the Battlefield games, those were good, right? Like Battlefield was it 1942 and stuff like that. Those were pretty good games, right? Like I think DICE developed those and everything, right? And then EA came in with them on Star Wars Battlefield, right?
Battlefront.
Battlefront, yes.
Battlefront, yeah.
Yeah, Battlefront. So that there tells you exactly. I mean, that tells you that. I mean, that's proof in the pudding. You take the best story ever told. You take a very good multiplayer video game. You put EA in the middle, and you make a. I'm going to say it. You make a big shit sandwich, is what you make.
Right. EA is
So,
always.
Russ,
the
how
turd
do
in
you
that
feel
sandwich.
about Battlefront?
It's just so frustrating. Like, I was hoping not to get this pumped up about it, but now that like the Medal of Honor, I just thought about that. I wasn't really thinking about it before, and I was like, man, they did just. I mean, and what they did to Mass Effect. I mean, golly, proven titles.
All right, so let's do this. Let's play. What game you want back, and who would you give it to from EA? So, Pat, I know you would kill to have Mass Effect taken away, but who would you give it to?
I wouldn't take away Mass Effect. I'd take the whole damn studio back. BioWare, I'm taking it all back. This is my wish. I'm taking it back. It's my dream. This one's mine. It's going back in park. No, I'd take the whole studio away from them. Give them
That's
back
your
to
big moment, huh?
Yeah. I would just take the whole studio because I can't name one of them. I mean, obviously, I'd take Mass Effect over all the rest of the studios, but it's still really close compared to Dragon Age and all that. So I take the whole studio away. They're mine.
All right, same question, but with the creators. Who would you take, Russ?
I mean, I'm not going to take Star Wars back or anything like that right now because that's too much on point. I want to go with Anthem. I really want to go with Anthem. I want Anthem to be with anybody. I mean, it could have been with Bungie for all I care. I don't care who it's with, but I mean, give that game to somebody else and see where they can go. I mean, I bet you that game would flourish.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Just to keep away from EA, they could do a lot. All right, Nick, same question, different answer.
I think I already had this question, but are we talking about just
give it one more time with the developer?
BioWare. Oh, I'll just add this. I mean, because I already talked to mine, but I agree with Patrick in taking away the entire just BioWare itself. But if it was like Mass Effect or Dragon Age or something like that, especially those two particular games, the only studio I could think that could probably do right by them would be Obsidian. That's the only developer that I think could take those games and make them awesome. Because, I mean, Obsidian's already an awesome company. They make really good RPGs. And, those games are RPGs, and I think they could take them. And that would be the only company I could think of that would be able to take them and make them good.
Yeah, I think since Pat kind of changed my question, made it a little better, my answer would be every damn one of them. Every damn studio. Take them away from EA. I would grab my bag. I'm going home. Screw you guys. Taking my stuff because everything they touch turns to crap. I want to bring back all those developers that they destroyed. Let them do their thing. Let them die on their own merits, not just because EA choked them to death.
I just wish, like, the only thing that I think, like, in the Star Wars realm, this may not be for EA or anything like that, is like, I understand George Lucas sold it all, but like, I wish they would have kept LucasArts. Is it proprietary? Like, I wish they would have kept that. Yeah, I wish they would have kept that separate for the whole time. Everything, I mean, I'm not really sure. I don't feel like they were a failing. We look back on the articles and it says that it was a failing studio, but I just don't see. I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, there were a couple of really bad Star Wars games that came out kind of like, late 90s, but there was also a whole bunch of really good ones too. So I don't know. I mean, anyway.
Well, you did hear that Disney actually reopened LucasArts Interactive, right? They're reopening that studio.
LucasArts Games or something like that is what they renamed it. They rebranded it a little bit.
Yeah, but did they bring back any of the originals, or at least some of the people that were there before they?
Some of those originals are older than you, Shane, so that's kind of hard.
Oh, I know they've been around forever and a day. I mean, Armed and Dangerous.
They dug their corpses up.
Right? I mean, hell,
they're on my lawn.
But they're going to do to LucasArts game film. It's Lucasfilm Games. They're going to do to Lucasfilm Games what they did to Indiana Jones.
Oh my God, Harrison Ford's going to be $1 million. They're going to CGI his butt.
They're going to throw it in the refrigerator and throw it off a mountain, blow it up with a nuclear bomb.
I don't know
God,
what to
that
think
was
about
so
that. I don't think
bad.
I'm watching it. I don't think I'm watching that one.
But yeah, I mean, EA has that bad habit. We all know they do. If every time you see EA acquired new studios, it's like it just reminds me of the I felt a disturbance in the force, as if 1 million souls cried all out at once. 1 billion souls cried all out at once. They're all like, oh, there goes my favorite game. Somebody says that. I guarantee you, every time there's an EA acquisition, somebody says, there goes my favorite game.
Oh yeah, it's like the opposite of a fairy. Every time EA buys a game, the developer dies.
Right?
Well, I
It's
think
like,
Patrick said that right before BioWare got bought. I think that's what happened. I mean, and that was before we had the new Mass Effect game, or we had anything like. I think he said that.
Yeah, EA is the equivalent of a elephant graveyard. It's where developers go to die. It's where games go to die.
So
And it's
the retirement home of game publishers.
That's true. I mean, they get paid before their crap goes away.
And EA is the nurse that keeps stealing from them.
Right, she steals their wallet and their credit cards out of their purse or wallet when they're getting a bath or whatever. We just need to remake the old 80s and 90s scene with the Native American guy crying at the concert place because all the people threw the trash out, except for it'll just be EA buying up another studio, and it's just crying one little tear.
I mean, but the problem is, Pat, is that it is absolutely true. That is the problem, that when EA does buy a developer, I mean, there goes my favorite game. It's just absolutely true, and that's really the sad thing about it. I even agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that. When they buy a developer that we love, we know, oh well, there goes that game. Let's find another one, because that game's never going to live up to what it once was.
The problem is we never learn, though. I don't know about you guys, but I never learned, because I'm like, as much as a history they've had, when they bought BioWare, and I'm like, oh, Andromeda's coming out. Oh, I was Homer Simpson drooling over the donut, and I'm just like, I got it. And I'm like, I love it. God, I hate EA. It's such a crappy game. I was in such denial for the longest time, and then I'm like, you know what? I just have to admit it. I hate EA.
And we're going to buy this Mass Effect remake. We're all going to buy this Mass Effect remake. We are. I mean, we already said that we were. Me and Patrick talked about it, and he's like, you can buy it, Nick. I'm like, yeah, of course I am. So will he. And we'll probably get in there, and they'll change so many things. We'll be like, yeah, this sucks.
Yep.
Yeah, they're going to
away
take
the parts that made Mass Effect.
Yep, they're going to take away the ability to choose a female or male character, be able to customize it, because they don't want to offend nobody. So it's just going to be a gray piece of something.
You're going to be a Hanar, just the gray little things that speak in the monotone with
you're going to be
with immense sincerity.
Piece of tofu.
No, I mean, in Mass Effect, they have the Hanar who would have no inflection in their voice, and they're like, with complete sincerity, I really like your hair.
Yeah.
No offense, but just a monotone giant gray Hanar in an N7 combat armor.
Get down.
Right.
Run
so I mean,
cover.
they we all know that EA has a tendency to do that, and I mean, we could probably go on and drown for hours of lost love of games because of EA. And EA is, there's so many analogies, but EA is the epitome of EA is it's not even a current meme. It's a meme that's been going around forever with the guy and the girl that's walking, and the guy is looking back at, the girl walking by, and, the guy is actually EA and we're the girl, or the guy is actually our development studio and we're the girl, and he's looking back at EA because EA is stealing our significant other. But that's what they do, and like I said, we can go on for hours talking about games we love that EA has basically destroyed. I mean, Russ has mentioned it. Their bread and butter, he used to play exclusively. I mean, I remember playing the old Madden games. I liked them, but they've just become Football Manager and Basketball Manager and Fight Manager. There's no more like real actual sport content to the game besides the 15 minutes of play that you do for the games, and then you go in and you're managing the person or you're managing the team. So, Russ has mentioned that. So, and I think, Russ, do you even play any of the new EA sports games really anymore?
I will play a golf game. That's about all. I always keep a golf game installed. They're an evening after work or something like that where I'm not necessarily feeling like I want to get into. Let's be honest. Patrick and Nick game. They're gamers. They really game. And sometimes I don't feel like getting into a 5-hour session when I have to go to work and not walk 5 feet to my desk. So I'll pull out a game of golf or something like that, and I'll enjoy that. But even then, even the golf games have gotten a little bit on the, you can actually buy particular outfits. You could do that. I mean, luckily I can get enough golf out of it that I'm okay. But, and then, for a while there, you had to use the stick. Well, I've got a crooked ass thumb and I can't go straight when I try to flick that thing up. Yeah, I'm flicking it up like this and it's just not working right. And I'm losing Shane right now, and it's freaking hilarious. So I'm doing this on purpose, everybody. Please enjoy this. But, but then they got back to the point to where you can actually time it and everything like that. So the last iteration of the game, you can do that. So it's not so bad now.
Next on Tigerwood PGA Golf, pay to mow the pattern you want in your field. We're going to make sure you can control the level and height of the grass on the green and the rough.
Yeah, they charge extra so you don't have to look like Rory McIlroy.
Right.
Well, that's that's the last PGA person. It's Roy McIlroy's PGA to Golf Tour.
It's a good game. Me and Nick play the crap out of it there for a while, but
but
I'm
that all
sorry.
by 50 Shades of Khaki.
I gotta ask, and I know we probably need to end this, but Russ, why is your thumb crooked?
It just is,
That's
man.
for a different
I don't
podcast.
know. Yeah, I mean, maybe
that's
work
for
on
Russian Shane
maybe
after
work
dark.
on I mean, honestly, it's probably from working on aircraft for 10 years. But the point being is that it's just like I could never flick it straight. I can never flick it straight. I'm just doing this on purpose, listeners, for Shane.
Yeah. But
I've lost him. He's out.
They've ruined their own games, just like we said. They've thrown so much crap microtransactions and everything that's what they do. They say, how can we squeeze every nickel, dime? We don't even care if it's a penny. How can we squeeze out every penny out of every game that we put out? Because they are just like the gas stations. Gas is like $2.99, $2.99, 0.9. Nobody, that's an old school scheme, but that's EA. They're like, we're not going to charge you $6 for that microtransaction. We're going to charge you $5.99. We're going to save you that penny and tell you what a great deal $5.99 is. So, that's EA to a T. Everything's full of microtransaction. How can we squeeze every minor penny out of this game that we can? How can we squeeze the life out of these franchises and move on to the next one? So EA is the epitome of a virus. What does a virus do? They move in, they replicate, they overextend, and they move on to the next situation. That's what EA does. Yeah. So they take our favorite games, they ruin them, and we're left crying and holding the bag. We're the significant other kicked out of the apartment. We left because the relationship was no longer what it used to be.
Yep. And don't forget, who was the first company with the new consoles released to go, well, we got to raise it to 70 now on the new game prices? It was E-freaking-A.
Yeah. And now everybody's following. Well, we shouldn't say everybody. Sony's following suit. Sony's are like, we're going to do $70 for our games too. But that's just like EA and Sony are almost two the same company with some of that stuff. But
throw a little Activision in there.
Yeah, throw a little Activision, but they're still not as bad, I would say. So, I mean, we could talk about games that we used to love, that we can no longer love. Anybody got some final words they want to throw in here before we go ahead and knock this one off before somebody ends up dropping a bunch of F-bombs and stuff in this one?
Oh, God. Let's see. I will just say, in the words of Whitney Houston, EA can kiss my ass.
Anybody else?
No.
No. No, I hope EA turns around and becomes the publisher or developer or industry partner that we hope they would be, or hope they should be, supportive and caring to the industry. But that's not going to happen. It's a wish. If they're not going to be going away, which they're not. I mean, they make money hand over fist most of the time. So, unfortunately, they're here to stay. But hopefully they have a change of heart. But I doubt it. So that's it.
We know what you really wanted to say, Nick, and you should have just said it. You hope they choke on Codemasters.
Yeah. I hope Codemasters throws dirt in their face.
Right. Yep. So, all right. Well, cool. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, of crap talking EA. We're just, no F-bombs were dropped. I call that a win in this situation.
Yay me.
So, yep. And so now Shane's got to go scrape that souffle out of the dish with the flamethrower because it's ruined. So he's got to go take care of that. And we hope to catch you in the next episode.
See ya.